Tim, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Max. Glad to be here.
You got it. Well, it's a long time coming. We've known each other for a while, and so I know a little bit about your background. I've learned a ton from it. But for folks that don't know you yet, can you just speak a little bit to your experience as a real estate investor?
Sure. I was intrigued by real estate investing very early. In fact, I was 18 when I bought my first rental property, and it was kind of an accidental landlord, but um, it was very intriguing. I enjoyed the cash flow that came from that, and so I set out on a path to do more of that, and also to be involved in construction. I've always been involved in building and remodeling and stuff like that all my life. So that was the path I took, and it's ended me up in a situation that I've got two real estate companies that I own. I just sold my remodeling company a little while ago. We do some fix and flips. I do some lending, a lot of things that we do, and everything related to real estate. So,
Okay, very cool. So, what are some of the trends? Tell people where you do most of your investing, and then in your local market, what are some things you've noticed, in the last 6 to 9 months, as far as what's how long it's taking for houses to sell? What are some of the trends? What are your sellers, saying? So, can you speak to that a little bit?
sure. So we're in the Central Florida market. I've been living in Lakeland, Florida since 1976. So I've been here a long time. I know a lot of people, and I've watched different trends. Our area is kind of a rural area in between two metropolitan areas, Orlando and Tampa. And what I see is that real estate right now is doing very well. You put a house on the market and you'll sell it in a few days. Um, so that's a good thing, but that's especially true in the larger metropolitan areas. So the bedroom communities, which I do most of my investing in, are more affordable housing areas. Those areas, you can still sell houses quickly in those areas. However, they are much more affordable, and it is kind of uh, a niche area because a lot of the big investors, they want to invest in the big towns, the Orlandos and the Tampas. We don't go to those areas. We stay pretty much in the rural Lakeland, Winter Haven, Lake County areas and stuff like that.
You've probably seen a lot of strategies in your experience. You got a lot of years of experience. I won't give it away, but a lot of years. And so, what are some of the things that you've seen people do, investors, other people you've seen where they pretty much just, they washed out and, crashed and burned, but you haven't, you've stayed the whole course. What have you done differently that like other people, maybe fall for?
Well, I see a lot of people, they pay too much money when they buy the house, and and so I'm always real cautious about making the money when I do the buy. Making sure that the numbers are going to work, and um, and then looking at multiple exit strategies. I mean, it may not always be a fix and flip. It may be something you want to hold on to for a while and do some other things. We also do some turnkey. We provide turnkey products for some of the investors that we work with, and because we do that, we buy duplexes, triplexes, small apartments, and sometimes we'll keep them for a couple of years before we sell them. We get the cash flow from them, and you know, it's just one of the business models that we have. So those kind of strategies are areas that I see where a lot of people make mistakes, that they overpay at the beginning and they end up not making money, or making a very small margin.
And I know from your background, you are very involved in property management. You even you coach people on how to do property management. You have a lot of doors. What has that business been like for you? Like, how did you get into that as a business, and what have you done to be so successful at it?
Well, when I started out in actually got my real estate license, I started out in regular real estate, selling houses, and I really didn't like the the way that that worked, because what happens a lot of times in retail sales is you work really hard, you work for months trying to get a deal to the finish line, and then all of a sudden all that work that you've done falls apart, and for some reason the lender doesn't want to close, the sellers walk, the buyers back out, something happens, and the deal falls apart. And I didn't like that, especially when I first started doing that. It was back in 2008, 2009, and there was a lot of short sales. So the short sale thing was that we got involved in that, and those are very difficult to negotiate. So one of the things that I saw, there was a guy that was in our building association that had a property management company, and I didn't realize that he didn't even miss a lick during the downturn of 2006, 2007. And I asked him one day, I said, well, how are you doing so well? He said, well, I got a property management company that I do along with my construction. And so I started looking into that, and I realized that there was definitely something to it. So that's when we decided to get into property management. We own two offices, one in Lakeland, one in Kissimmee, which is over by Disney World, and we do manage over 500 properties now.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, how long did it take to build up? Like, what would be like a recommendation? Maybe if somebody is managing their own properties. I have some friends who are managing their own properties, and then their friends, start saying, "Hey, will you manage a couple for me?" Not huge landlords, like 5 or 10, that kind of thing. And they've been asking me about it. They said, "Hey, should I get into property management?" And I think I've even connected a couple of them to you to talk about it with it because of all the experiences I've gotten to hear about. What would you recommend to somebody right now in the current climate who's a real estate investor? Is property management a good business to be in now? And if so, what do they need to like laser focus on to really make it successful?
Yeah, it is a very good business to be in. You have steady income, and that's the one thing that you don't have if you're doing retail sales as a realtor. You might sell two this month or five this month, but unless you're a real like a major producer,
Hmm.
you don't have steady income on retail sales. But you always collect rent, so you're always being able to um, take your commission for the rent that you collect. So yeah, it's a good business to be in. I recommend it. It takes a while to scale it to the point where you have um, enough doors that you manage that can actually produce a good income. But there's a lot of opportunity that comes with this business too. And, I couldn't even tell you if we sat and talked for an hour, I couldn't even tell you all the properties that I've been able to buy from people that I used to manage for, and they just got tired of being a landlord. And I was able to creatively buy their properties, either seller financing or with some creative form. In fact, I've got two right now under contract that I'm going to be closing on in a couple days. And this was a former client, that he just decided he didn't want to be a landlord anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I think that your method is one of the best ones there is right now for people in real estate by far. I've always felt that way since you told me about it. The the ability to have the recurring along with when landlords get tired, you have deal flow opportunities with people that already know, like, and trust you. It's not somebody who just saw your postcard and you're, showing up, or even your book.
yeah,
These are people that you've had years of history with, and then you've told me about some of the creative deals. So you hear a lot of gurus run around and talk about no money for real estate and not use your own money, and there's some things people say that are too bad to actually be true, and then the opposite. They're too good to be true. Usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. So, but what have you noticed? Because can real estate investors really use creative financing and relationships to get cash flow properties creatively? And maybe if you have any examples of that, that would be so cool.
Oh yeah, yeah, that absolutely. That really is the way that I built my personal portfolio, was with seller financing. Um, I didn't go to any banks. I used some private lenders, but most of it was all seller financing for the majority of my portfolio. In fact, the two that I was just mentioning that are under contract, very unique situation. The seller cannot earn more than a certain amount a year in order to keep some benefits that he has that are coming in.
Hmm.
But he wanted to sell his two little rental houses that are right next to each other. And so we created a seller finance opportunity for him so that we would keep his amount that we were paying him every year below the threshold, so that he would not lose his other benefits that he was getting. And so we were able to create this deal. It's just a killer deal for both of us because he's getting what he wants, and I'm getting two little houses. I think my payments are going to be 174, 98 on each house. 174, $174.98, and the rent is a 650 on each house.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was the deal, and I'm putting a couple $1,000s down only because he could receive $2,000 plus the interest that I'm going to be paying him for the rest of this year and not hit his threshold. So that's why I'm putting a couple grand down. Otherwise, I was going to actually do it with no money down,
Right.
pay him the payments. But then he thought about it. He said, "Well, wait a minute. I can earn a little bit more this year because it's already August."
Sure. Sure. Well, with a $500 spread, I mean, what that 2,000 breaks even in 4 months. So I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a former client. I mean, he's been our client in the past. He called me, in fact, and he said, "Hey, I want to sell my rentals." You know.
Wow, that's a superpower. So who else do you work with? If there's somebody listening to this that's in your area, what kind of sellers typically reach out? Like what kind of problems are they normally having? And then are you looking for new private money lenders too?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So we focus on buying rental properties that we can either keep in our portfolio or resell, and we also buy um, houses that need a lot of work. I just got one under contract yesterday that's a total burnout. So it's $120,000 rehab. We do those quite often. Stuff that the average investor, the average fixer flipper doesn't want to do. So those are the kind of things we look for. Deals that need a lot of work, and deals that we can keep in a portfolio or resell to another investor somewhere else.
Sure, sure, 100%. So, I know that, I mean, maybe don't have a crystal ball. Maybe you do have one in your desk or your office there, but what do you just kind of see coming in the horizon for your local housing market, or what are y'all, doing at your business to just prepare or position for the future?
Well, one thing I do know, I've been in Florida long enough to know that people are moving to Florida all the time. They want to come to Florida. They're coming here. I think that the last time I heard is like 300,000 people a year are moving to Florida. And so our local area, the population is just expanding like crazy. So there's just a lot of opportunity right here, and we see that, but our focus for our business is more investor driven. You know, we really understand what investors are looking for when it comes to return on investment. Because I'm an investor myself. Everybody that works here in any leadership capacity is an investor. They've been an investor. They know what it looks like, and so we cater to that clientele. And I think I've seen a lot of people coming to Florida, a lot of investors, a lot of people from California, New York. I've got clients from all over the place, all over the world, that are buying good, blue collar neighborhood properties right here in Central Florida, because it is a great market to buy in. So that's what we're looking for, is to work with other investors that are looking for a good return on their investment.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I know that you coach and help and mentor a lot of people, and it's been a passion of yours for a long time. What advice would you give to a newer real estate investor? I know a lot of it's local driven, but if there's somebody in your local market that says, hey, I'm working a 9 to 5, I want to get out of it, I want to be a real estate investor, is now a good time to jump in and be a real estate investor? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think it's always a good time if that's something that you really have a passion for and you really want to do. But my suggestion has always been the same, and I did it myself. In fact, I still have a mentor. But my suggestion is to find a good mentor, really connect with that person, learn all you can from them, and then that mentor may not be the one that you have forever and ever. You may outgrow that mentor, and you may need to move up to somebody else. But starting out, don't try to do it on your own. Don't go buy all the courses, because all the courses are going to just sit on your shelf, and you're not going to even crack the cellophane open, on some of them. But I always suggest to get a good mentor, somebody that you trust and that can really lead you in the right direction. I've had several good ones, and right now I'm actually working with a mentor of mine, and I'm helping him with his coaching program. So it's a good experience.
Why don't we wrap up with one more question about marketing? So what are some things, because every time I go to masterminds and your masterminds and even on our calls, people want to know about marketing, because it's the lifeline of every business, and there's many different ways to do it. What are some methods that y'all are using that seem to be working pretty good?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that I've really learned, and I don't think it really matters what kind of marketing you do. What really matters is follow-up. Because if you get a lead from any source at all, I don't care if it's postcards, I don't care if it's digital, whatever that lead comes from, if you don't follow up on it, chances are you're not going to close it. And so we've learned to follow up on every lead we get. We do some postcards, we do some driving for dollars. That's one of the things. You drive around, you find a couple houses that look like they're in disrepair, and the grass needs mowing. Send them a postcard or send them a letter. Do some skip tracing, find those people. And but one call is not going to get the deal. What it is we have a follow-up program, and we use some virtual assistants who just continually follow up. They know what to do, when to do it. They send out emails. They do the skip tracing. We do phone calls. We do send out another postcard. So we just keep following up, and that has produced some pretty good deals.
Yeah, and it's sort of like that's the part where, because follow-up's not fun, it's hard, and I'm noticing people who stick around in the game, They do the hard things. They do the boring things. They do the stuff that's consistent. That doesn't sell. That stuff doesn't sell self-study programs. But
No.
that is why you're still here doing well. And all of our members are doing well, and it's because that's crucial. And I don't know what the numbers are; they change all the time. But what you said has been echoed in our home buying business here in Fort Worth. Same thing. But if you figure out a way to follow up, you're there when the other people aren't there anymore. It's been
Yep.
documented. But I like what you said, and I really want everybody who's listening to this to really take this away, because I take it away. I learn every time I talk to you. You're super smart, and one of the things that is the takeaway, we have VAs doing it, because I've noticed in our businesses, the fewer things people focus on, the better they do. There's different personalities for different things in your business. And so one person, you may be able to do a lot of the things, but you're not going to do them all at the same level. And the VAs are an incredible way, virtual assistants are an
Yep.
incredible way to, have great time leverage. They have, it's very, it's low cost, and the value that we get on the back end is, I mean, when you think about it, really your highest return on investment marketing channel you really have is your warm lead follow-up campaign. I mean, because essentially, if you bring leads in and there's no follow-up, there is no value, because they're not going to call you. So
Right.
really, that's a kind of almost like a separate marketing channel, and nobody thinks that way. They're like, well, is it? Oh, okay, postcards aren't working, so I got to do TV remnants, and then I got to do digital. I got to do that.
Yeah.
But the best stuff that we have is is the leads that are in our system that they haven't sold to us yet.
Yeah.
That's the best channel.
Yeah. I find it funny because I talk to a lot of beginners, and a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, these postcards aren't working."
Right.
I'm like, "Well, how many did you send out?" And they say, "Well, we sent out this many." And how many calls did you get? Well, we got 3 calls. And how much follow up did you do?
Right.
And they look at you like, "What follow up?"
Yeah.
We made an offer and they didn't accept it. Oh well, they may not do that the first time.
I would almost reverse the whole paradigm, because I know a lot of people, I was like this at the beginning too. You want to get results fast. I mean, who doesn't, right? And
Yeah.
it's but the best way to get results fast in real estate is to get really good at follow up, or have somebody on your team. That is what everybody does who gets results. That's what everybody who has a real estate business.
Yeah.
It's different. Just doing some deals and having a business, you can't support the cash flow to have a business unless you master that follow-up, because that's where most of our deals are come from. I think one number I looked at said 80% of people sell after 5 touches.
Yeah.
And it's like the same percentage of people don't make even 2 calls. So
We just
that's it.
we just bought a triplex about last month. We closed on a triplex, and I was asking my VA. I said, "When did that guy call us?" And he looked back in the CRM. He said, "I put that in the CRM back in September of last year."
Wow, so almost a year.
We had been following up with this guy for all this time, and finally he called us about a month and a half ago and said, "Hey, I'm ready to sell." And we jumped on it, and we bought a nice little triplex.
Cool.
And we're going to make a lot of money on this deal.
Yeah.
But it was because we followed up from a lead last September.
100%. Man, well, that's great. So, man, a lot of gold nuggets there. Property management, creative financing, leveraging being an author, and how to really get deal flow is follow up. Have somebody follow up for 11 months.
Yeah. Exactly.
It makes a lot of money. Well, Tim, I appreciate it. I think a lot of people learned a ton. Obviously, what is a good way for people to reach out to you if they're new in Lakeland, or Central Florida, and they're looking for somebody to point them in the right direction? If they're all over the U.S. and they're looking for a way to get a good yield on some stuff, property management, somebody who wants to sell their house, how do those folks get in contact with you?
So I'm going to give you a real simple email address. It's tim@timsdavis.com. And that's how they can reach me.
It's pretty simple. tim@timsdavis.com.
Yeah, if you look at my books, my name on the book is Tim S. Davis.
Yep.
And so I got timsdavis.com and just keep it simple, right?
I like that. Yeah. I didn't get, I tried to get my just first and last name URL. It was already taken. So I'm middle initialing it too. And that's a very easy way to do it. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on today. And we'd love to have you back on in the future and give us an update on how things are going with your deals in your local area.
All right. Very good.
Cool. Well, until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.